One of the biggest challenges India faces is in the area of providing equal opportunities to all sections of society. Skill development is one initiative which brings equal opportunities to all.
Pan IIT Alumni Reach for India Foundation, headquartered at IIT Bombay, partners with state governments through non-profit, joint venture enterprises to create an institutionalized skill development architecture exclusively for the underserved across all districts of the state. The first such special purpose vehicle or SPV was created with agencies of welfare of the government of Jharkhand. The Pan IIT model of skill development is predicated on assured placement, 100% skill loan financing, best-in-class training and residential infrastructure led by ex-army personnel. The foundation runs Gurukuls with 2 to 3 month training in construction, logistics, manufacturing and Kaushal colleges imparting 1 to 2 years of trade licenses vocational education in trades like nursing, catering exclusively for the underserved.
लेकिन बहुत अच्छी ट्रेनिंग आपको मिल रही है। आप सौभाग्यशाली हैं कि आप देश के इस हुनरमंद काम को बढ़ाने वालों में सबसे अच्छी संस्थाएं हैं जो 3-4 उसमें से एक मैंने मैं अनुभव किया। भारत सरकार का मंत्री बोल रहा है तो कहीं बहुत अच्छा काम यहाँ होता है।
कॉन्फिडेंस हमको गुरुकुल दिया है सर के एस्पिरेंट जो निकल के गए हैं वो अच्छी नौकरी भी कर रहे हैं और गुरुकुल के एस्पिरेंट्स विदेश तक गए हैं।
आज अगर गुरुकुल में अगर नहीं होता, ना ही मैं दुबई को देख पाता, ना ही मैं 35 से 40 हजार में कमाता।
ये नर्सिंग कौशल कॉलेज है और मेरी फैमिली कंडीशन उतना अच्छा नहीं है कि इसमें लोन प्रोसेस के द्वारा पढ़ाई कराई जाती है जिसमें कि घर से पैसे नहीं लगते हैं। कॉलेज बहुत अच्छा है क्योंकि इसमें फैसिलिटी ज़्यादा है और यहाँ थ्योरी क्लास के साथ साथ प्रैक्टिस पर ज़्यादा ध्यान दिया जाता है कि इसमें हाई टेक्नोलॉजी के द्वारा पढ़ाया जाता है। जैसे कि सिमुलेटर है, यहाँ वार्ड बनाए गए जैसे प्रैक्टिस वार्ड है, ICU वार्ड है।
Some of the studies have proven that if we use something like a helmet patient interface, the device which we have developed, lungs problem which lot of patients face can be assuaged and the patients can recover faster and better. That has been proven in some studies.
Good evening. We are starting our program of Samaj, Sarkar and Bazaar, and on behalf of Pan IIT and myself as a former IIT student, I add my own welcome to all the participants in this webinar. It promises to be very interesting. I understand we have participants from both India and abroad, and we have 2 stellar participants today, Professor Yunus from Dhaka, and Gadkari ji, our Mantri for MSME and Highways and Roads, who's also joined us. Today's subject is on Samaj, Sarkar and Bazaar, and it's about revitalizing MSMEs and the Indian economy. And Dr. Yunus undoubtedly represents Samaj. His credentials to do so are extremely outstanding. His groundbreaking work in Grameen Bank and his new books, one of which I have certainly read, Creating a World Without Poverty, is a true visionary in this field of... Gadkari ji is a politician of very, very long standing and extremely distinguished. As a union minister, he clearly represents the Sarkar dimension of the discussion. And he is a minister for... By the way, some people have asked, what is MSME? Just to clarify for those who don't, it's medium, small and micro enterprises. So just in case some people abroad are not familiar with this jargon. And Gadkari ji is handling this with great distinction, which all of us read about every morning in the newspaper. So since Samaj and Sarkar positions are taken out of the 3 positions, I suppose by default, I become the bazaar. And I will offer initially 10 minutes. I'll offer some comments, opening comments, after which I will request Professor Yunus to speak for 20 minutes and Gadkari ji for the next 20 minutes. So we'll have 50 minutes. If we do finish on 50 minutes, then we'll have 10 minutes because we have to close at 7:30 sharp. Gadkari ji has another engagement. So does Professor Yunus, and so do I. So we're going to close at 7:30, and if we have to, we will take a few less questions when the time comes. So I will start with just a few opening remarks on the bazaar perspective. And you know, when I was young and growing up in Kolkata, where I was born and raised, there was a very nice film. It was a Hindi film called Naya Daur. Naya Daur means the new world, the new development, the new progress. And it's a movie about a little village where Dilip Kumar and Vaijayanti Mala, who are the lead actors, are living. And the Sethji of the village brings in machines to run a little sawmill and displaces people from their jobs. Then a bus operator comes and displaces the Tangawalas from their job. And there's a very dramatic dialogue from Dilip Kumar. I will say it in English. I'm not sure whether Professor Yunus understands Hindi, but to be safe, I'll say it in English. He says, we villagers are not against machine or bus. So don't misunderstand us. But can you not find a way that the bus and the machine do not interfere with our livelihood? Can't we all be sustainably linked together? Otherwise, Dilip Kumar says, all my people in the village will migrate to the city and our cities will not be able to handle it. And this is 1956. So here we are, 60 years later, saying it was quite a prophetic statement. All of us who were young in the 50s, as I was, will remember this particular film. It's a very charming film. There's an overarching picture about MSMEs. We know that, and we will not dwell on the fact that they've all had a very rough time in this COVID. Everybody's had a rough time. But the question I would like to touch upon briefly, is it worthwhile for us to apply our mind and think about MSMEs? Are they really a vital part of the Indian economy? Well, the answer is most certainly yes. I'm going to throw just a few numbers. As I understand it, there are a total of 36 crore workers. 36 crore workers in the MSME sector. 25 crores are in farming MSMEs and another 11 crores are in services and industry and so on and so forth. So it's a very large number of the total working population in this country. It is almost 65%. And the fact of the matter is, we have a very large number of laws which accumulated over the years. We have 69,000 laws. It has been computed in a report recently, of which 9,000 result in a criminal prosecution. So there are a huge number of compliances. Obviously, all of them don't apply to everybody, but it's a big web in which people are there. And in this atmosphere, it's very difficult to let the entrepreneurial spirit come alive. I'm just setting this backdrop. We are not going to be able to solve that problem here. But we are already an economy where we've got a very large number of micro entrepreneurs. The problem is that they are not sustainable and they get destabilized very, very quickly. We've got 6.3 crore enterprises, according to the data given out by the Employment Bureau and so on. But of these, only 19,000 have a capital of more than 10 crores. And clearly, if you've got a capital of 10 crores in the Indian context, it can't be considered micro enterprise. Micro enterprise are people who employ maybe 3, 5, 10 people, less than 10 for sure. So Gandhiji had made the point long ago about Sarvodaya. And after Gandhiji, Deen Dayal Upadhyay ji had also introduced the concept of Antyodaya. Now, we all know what Sarvodaya means, progress for all. Our present Prime Minister also says Sabka Vikas. But Antyodaya was very interesting. It was to the last person people must rise. And I know that Mr. Gadkari will confirm that the BJP has adopted Antyodaya as part of its agenda. And there have been many discussions with the uh, chief ministers of the states on this subject. Now, in my view, coming from the bazaar perspective, I think India needs some very refreshing and bold actions. Now, it's very easy for me to say this from the bazaar, but we will listen to Dr. Yunus and Mr. Gadkari about their experiences and their thoughts. If you want to really release the inherent entrepreneurial spirit that I think Indians have, what in economic language they say, release the animal spirit. And I once read a Cantonese slogan when I was traveling, and it said, Thong Long Huan Niao. Since none of us understands what that means, it says, open the cage and let the birds fly. And I think the challenge we have and we would like to touch upon today is, how do you open the cage and let the birds fly and make it meaningful for society, which is the interest of the government and any social interventionist. I wonder, and I would very much like Dr. Yunus's comment and Gadkari ji's comment about something I heard somebody else say, I'm borrowing this, that if you follow 4 Ds, our Pradhan Mantri is always careful to give many 5 Ts, 2 Ts, so I am also falling into the same mode. Democratization, the 4 Ds are decentralization, devolution, and de-assetization and digitization. Rather than my defining these, which is not really necessary, let me illustrate. What Uber has done is to decentralize. And you don't need those assets, people who own cars which they rarely use. And we all know that the revolution that is brought about. Likewise with banking, nobody goes to a bank now. It's all done on your smartphone. So open the cage requires us to follow perhaps these 4 Ds. And when I read Dr. Yunus's book, although he has not used the word 4D, I could see the elements and the strands of this, and I'm sure he will give more flesh, if I've understood it correctly, and what those strands are. I would just like to clarify once, and again I'm borrowing from Dr. Yunus's book, that this doesn't mean that the Sarkar has nothing to do. Sarkar has to do 6 things, which the Sarkar is of course more than aware of. National defense. It needs a central bank which must do the regulation and the supervision of banks. It must have a public school system. It must have a national health service. And it must lay down the rules of play with efficient and speedy justice. So those 6 are undoubtedly squarely. Anything else is arguable as far as the Sarkar's agenda is concerned. For example, in a poor, relatively not so well educated country like ours, and by education I mean good quality, high education, I've often wondered, we got a terrific IAS, we got a terrific IPS, terrific IFS. Why don't we have an IES, Indian Educational Service? A premier service, right? Why don't we have an Indian Health Service? And when I Googled for Indian Health Service, to my great surprise, an entry popped up. And I said, wow, how come I've lived in India for all these last 75 years without knowing that there's an Indian Health Service? It turns out that this Indian Health Service is run by the government of the United States and is meant for American Indians, for the natives. And I said, well, it's time that Indians have an Indian Health Service. So if we have a top-class Indian Educational Service, top-class Indian Health Service, then many other things that no doubt Dr. Yunus will talk about and Mr. Gadkari will talk about can happen. So I'm very positive about the future. I would now like to request Professor Yunus to make his comments, and we will spend 20 minutes. I know that's very inadequate to listen to you, but we would like to spend 20 minutes listening to you, Dr. Yunus. Over to you.
Thank you, Sir Gopalakrishnan. And thank you, Honorable Minister Gadkari. It's a great privilege to share my thoughts with you, and because you are running the ministry, you are in charge of the ministry, which concerns me the most, because that's where microcredit and everything comes in there, and micro enterprise and all the things, other small and medium enterprises that you look after. I got involved with it not from enterprise direction. I came into the whole idea through loan sharks, because I saw the loan sharking in the village next to the university where I was teaching. And it's extremely, extremely cruel kind of thing that existed right there. People, poor people, they are not very rich people, maybe few, slightly better off than others, exploiting the people in the village by lending little money, as small as 20 rupee, 30 rupee, 100 rupee, just very small, to a little bit higher than that. And grab everything they got. And this is an excuse. Lending was just an excuse to get you to grab everything that the other person has. And it's pathetic the way it's kind of revealed every day that is happening in the village. So I was wondering how to protect these people in the village from the loan shark. They're the same villagers too. They're not foreigners coming from some places. They're just your neighbors. But how to protect these people who need some money because of the survival, because of the livelihood they have to continue. They need the raw material, they need something. So need some money, and go to the loan sharks to have that, start a small daily business. I need some money to buy something and sell it in the market, those kind of things. The one idea that I came up with, why don't I lend the money myself so that I cut all those other aspects of loan sharking, just give the money so that people can move on with their life. And that was the beginning, some 42 years back. I had no idea that I will go into banking and other things. I was just a teacher in the university, that's all. But it drew me in. And ultimately, I created a bank, a small bank for the village called Grameen Bank. It's a village bank. So I had no idea that it will become a nationwide bank. The reason everybody needed it, that's the whole thing. And I focused not only on the poorest people, I focus also the poorest women. That's another aspect to that. And over time, it became known as microcredit, microfinance, and expanded globally. It's all over India right now. But the basic thing that I repeatedly mention, people at the bottom level, in order for them to survive, they need some money to go ahead with. Otherwise, they have only body, nothing else, no possessions, nothing. So if you have to deal with the market, as you say, your bazaar, you need some cash in your hand, and nobody gives it except the loan shark. So the loan shark did the big business out of it, make money and grab land, grab house, grab animals, whatever they could grab, lay their hands on. So I said, we can look at it this way. Finance is an oxygen for people. If you consider that as an oxygen for economic oxygen for people, you cannot, without that oxygen, economically, you cannot breathe, you cannot survive. So the moment you can connect them with that economic oxygen, they start breathing, they start working. But if that is available in reasonable terms, then they could breathe easier and so on. That's the whole idea of a microcredit and so on. So we created something, dismissed all the principles of banking. That's the most daring thing I could do, because I didn't want to go into the trap of the banking system, because banking system cannot allow them to get in. This is, I argued with the banks and so on, never heard of. They said it's impossible to lend money to the poor people. So in order to make it possible, I dismissed everything that the banks do. I dismissed the whole idea of collateral. That's the first thing to go. And everything banks do, I do the opposite. That became a very simple principle for me. They go to the rich, I go to the poor. They go to the city, I go to the village, and those kind of. They go to men, I go to women. They ask for compounded interest and so on. I said, no compounding, just a simple interest. So I did everything in opposite way, and it worked. This is how it became. The reason I'm telling all this story, still that is not done. Still the system, banking system has not changed. India has lots of microfinance organizations, MFIs, you know it. And I have been arguing, I have been pleading with the Indian government for a long time to allow the microfinance organizations to take deposits, because that's again key. Today, microfinance organizations cannot take deposits. So you have some lending organizations, but without money to lend. So they have to go to the bank again. Again, you get captured by the bank. I said, why do you do that? Why don't you just release them, free them from the banks so that they can take deposits and lend money, give them some limited banking license. Finally, after many years, this small finance banking license has been issued for a dozen of them, but it's still hundreds of them left there. So this is a one-legged institution which cannot stand properly. So they are dependent on the banking system and so on. Why don't they create an alternative banking for the microfinance people? So I relate myself only to the people who are micro entrepreneurs, not the other middle and small. And then the moment you go to the small and medium, we go into the conventional entrepreneur, etc., etc. Immediately we come back with all the laws and regulations of that. But the micro cannot deal with those kind of facilities. I said, if a ministry can be made for the micro entrepreneurs only, then they have this separate kind of laws, rules and procedures and banking system, everything can follow. Otherwise, it will be lost in the whole system. It will not come out of that. So this is one issue that I keep repeating. Then I said, look at the villages, all the villages that we see. They are kind of a backyard of the rural, urban areas. Their economy is tied to the urban areas. And rural areas looked at as a kind of a provider of labor. Is a labor producing factory for the urban areas. They produce the labor and send it to the urban areas, and they work in the urban areas in a very pitiable condition. But that's what drives the economy of the cities and so on. I said, that's a very wrong way to look at it. Why people from in the village should go to the city to do that? There were, in one time, probably there were reasons for cities to grow. People to come to the cities to do their economic activities and so on, because of the lack of infrastructure in the villages. Those are the days when the infrastructure was a big issue, finance was a big issue. These are all concentrated, infrastructure is concentrated in the city, finance is concentrated in the city. So everybody has to come to the city to go and get ahead with their business and so on. Today, that doesn't work at all because infrastructure is everywhere. You know, the road, beautiful roads everywhere now. You need communication. Everybody is on the phone. Everybody has an internet. So those ideas of infrastructure doesn't hold good for the city. You can have your processing industry, your industry, whatever, anywhere you want, practically. But out of habit, because you have everything concentrated there, and all the institutions are built on the urban ideas. So institutions, you try to bring it to the rural areas, they cannot feel comfortable. So they don't want to. You have to push the banks to go to the village. Governments after governments push the bank to go to the village. They cannot, because they are not built for that purpose. I said, why don't we create institutions dedicated exclusively for the rural areas so that their question of pushing doesn't arise. India, country like India is a huge area. It's not a tiny area. So you can create financial institutions and other institutions just dedicated to rural areas and dedicated to the bottom people. And these bottom people are described in economic theory as informal sector. And I have been arguing against this. Why do you call it informal sector? It looks like you don't like them, so you want to keep them aside. You are busy with the formal sector. Formal sector is your it's something that you can play with, but the informal sector, you don't feel comfortable with it. So you label it as informal sector. And I keep saying that, look, it's not a waiting room to go to the formal sector. The way you said, you have to have a job, then you are in a formal sector. Formal job for the formal sector, informal job in the informal sector. So informal sector, to me, is the most exciting sector of the economy like Bangladesh, India, and the subcontinent, because that's where the people struggle to make a living, bring their creative power. They're not bothering the government. They're not bothering anybody. Nobody gets it, except the loan sharks. That's where loan sharks make all their business and so on. If we want to create an informal sector as a micro-entrepreneur sector, then suddenly everything changes. because that micro entrepreneur sector is what you call informal sector. Remove that word informal sector, call it micro entrepreneur sector. Suddenly you see this is the base of the entire entrepreneurial pyramid of the country. At the top, you have the billionaires, businesses, and so on, middle, millions, and 100,000s, and then come this 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, 50,000. That's the micro entrepreneurs. That's where the real entrepreneurship is all about, but totally unserved. If you look at the loan sharking business, this is where their meat is. They make money out of this. The test of the financing is for the micro entrepreneurs is if you can remove, if you can through the market mechanism that you are representing today, the bazaar, if through the market mechanism we can make loan sharking extinct, because banking came with the technology, with the ideas, with the new methodologies of serving the poor people in a business way, in a sustainable way, the way Grameen Bank and all the microcredit organizations in India and other countries have been doing. We don't need loan sharks. So how to make that happen? So we need a very focused area to that. The success of a policy, of a government policy, would be how many loan sharks now removed. It's not about how many microcredit you are giving. The success is the loan sharks are no longer needed because the microfinance sector is strong enough, is visible enough, is accessible enough to take care of all those people who belong to that. So this is the very crux of the economy, if we can. And then what we did is the women. The moment you come to that, women were never, first of all, the poor people were never considered as what they call credit worthy. And I was making jokes with the banks at that time when they were explaining again and again to me, the banks cannot lend the money because they're not credit worthy. I said, that's a very funny way of explaining it. Should we call people not credit worthy, or people should call you are not people worthy because you have not designed something for them, and then blaming the people for that? I said, this is a very strange way of getting rid of it. I said, you have to be people worthy so that you can really do business with them. And today that thing exists. It's a people worthy, not only in one country, two countries, it's global now. It happen. So if we can make that support to make this, for example, if we issue a license for the microfinance organization that you can take deposit, and condition is you'll be lending only to the defined people with the micro entrepreneurs as you define it, whatever way you have defined it. This is the place of your work. You do that. And I would add on top of it, so that my head is full with loan sharking ideas. Even if you give the license, many of these MFIs will become loan sharks in their own way, because if you leave them alone. I said it has to be done, your license should be done as a social business. Microfinance organization as a social business. And we define social business as a business to solve people's problem, not make money out of them. So once you define it in that way, it's a zero dividend company. It's a zero dividend company. So your entire focus is on solving people's problem. Wherever we take our microcredit program, the whole idea of microcredit in Bangladesh at the Grameen Bank is a social business. We don't want to make money out of the poor people. So that should be integrated into it, because that may be the fear why government doesn't want to give them the license in a massive way. But if you register it as a social business microfinance, you monitor it, your records, you show the record that they are not taking any dividend out of this business. All the money remains within the business and so on. Then there's no problem with giving the money. And for regulation of the deposits, you have all the regulations, how to take care of those regulations and so on. So this is one. Unless we do that, micro entrepreneurs will not get anywhere. All the migration of the labor that you see during the COVID-19, and all the terrible scene that the whole world has to watch with pain, that the people are getting ready to walk 1,000 miles to go home. Why? Because they lost their job, they lost their income and everything. They cannot even pay the rent. They have to go home, which is 1,000 miles away. Why do the people have to go 1,000 miles away for mere survival? What kind of economy what kind of economics we have built? I'm not blaming the government. It's economic thinking. That economic thinking forced all these people out of the village to go someplace. We have to build new economics where the first condition is we have to design something so that people can have their basic livelihood within the range of the place where they are born. They don't have to go beyond where they are born. We can do that. Today that technology exists. You can build any kind of businesses wherever you live, even the remotest place, because technology has made it simple and easy. So that's the kind of economy, the self-sufficient rural economies. Instead of sending your produce and agricultural produce and everything, you grow it in the village and you send it to the city to be processed. And you send your people to go to process it. I said, that's very funny thing to do. The produce is here in the village. People are here. Why don't we process it here and send it to the urban areas and the rest of the world? So those old thinking that they have to be sent to the city to do everything has to be abandoned completely. Rural economy should be standing on their own feet. It will be independent economy dealing with the urban economy in equal terms. They will decide which way the terms of trade will go. And the education has to be brought into the villages, all the universities and things. Our young people leaving the villages, go to the university located in the cities. India has lots of universities, beautiful top-class universities located in the villages. But it's not it's principle. It's a kind of exception. We don't make it an exception. It's a regular thing. Our villages will have the top-class universities, business schools, medical schools, and IITs, and all kinds of things. And it's so much better. Why should we send our children to go to the city and go to the education institution in the city and become urban people, not to go back to the villages anymore, feeling that that's not a place to live, this is where the place to live. Because we already contaminated their mind by pushing them into the village, city life. Why don't you give the village the education where they are born, where they can do that? So this is the scenario that we have to address. And the loan shark is number one. The quality of the life of any nation like India, Bangladesh, and the subcontinent would be, have we eliminated by natural process of creating an institutional support, the whole idea, the concept of loan shark as it existed before. There are no more loan shark, no more people victimized and let them remain where they are. If you give the chance, they can grow. As I said, it's an oxygen. If you can provide them that oxygen, they will grow as far as. That's the creativity of people. We should not shut down the creativity of the people. So with the Honorable Minister, I would just say that ministry is a very important ministry, but I would like, in my own way, it doesn't change anything in your case, I would like to separate out the microcredit part of it, micro part of it. The small and medium is fine. That's another kind of category, another kind of animal, but micro is completely different. And it deserves itself a separate ministry. And then you have own people who understand the micro people, who can translate the language of the micro people to the government officials, because they don't understand the government officials' language and the papers and so on. So you need a whole agency to translate, to be on behalf of the micro entrepreneurs, so that they don't get caught on the laws, rules, and so on. They don't understand anything. So this agency's job would be to help them to deal with the government and help them to push out. And so the young people within the villages, they become entrepreneurs themselves. I said, entrepreneurship for the young people is the root, not the job seeking. Job has made our societies pushed us in the wrong direction. All human beings are born as entrepreneurs. And this is where the Ministry of Micro Entrepreneurship is all about. It helps all the unemployed, quote unquote unemployed people turn into entrepreneurs. It should not be a headache for the country. It shouldn't be a burden on the society, burden on the government. It should be the pride of the nation. They are building themselves as entrepreneurs, moving from the bottom, micro entrepreneurs, go up the top. So this is my pleading on this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Yunus. That's absolutely stunning. गडकरी जी, ये इन्होंने बहुत अनोखा कल्पनात्मक एक पेश किया है. अब मैं चाहता हूं कि समय बर्बाद ना करो, आपको आपके शब्द बोलने के मौका दो.
Respectable Yunus ji,
thank you.
Respectable Gopal Krishnan ji, and dear friends. First of all, the people, those who are socially, economically, educationally backward, and those who don't have roti, kapda and makan, we need to concentrate our all efforts for how we can give them a sustainable life. That is exactly the crunch of our economy. The Gandhiji's philosophy was we need maximum production with the involvement of maximum number of persons. But in our whole system, our total economic system, banking system is dominated by urban-centric methodology, systems and atmosphere. Now exactly what Mr. Yunusji is telling it is absolutely correct. In my own life, before 12 years, I used the word social entrepreneur. And actually I am known for construction of bridges, road and highways. But in my area, I am from Nagpur, which is in Vidarbha area of Maharashtra, where we have more than 10,000 more farmer suicides. So I decided to work with the farmers. And today we have taken a lot of initiative in the rural agriculture area. And up till now we have created jobs for 15,000 people and turnover of 1200 to 1300 crore by all the efforts of all the people. You are absolutely correct, because in Indian, because I don't know the economy of Bangladesh, but the India's most important requirement is, it is the need of the hour is to finance the poor people not more than 10 lakhs. Now for example, as a transport minister, I launched this mechanized driven e-rickshaw in the country. Before that, cycle rickshaw was there. And total number of the people who are running e-rickshaw, cycle rickshaw is 1 crore. So now in the small area, the small credit cooperative society or bank, they are not very much interested, because the cost of this rickshaw, mechanized driven e-rickshaw, is less than 1 lakh rupees, 1,10,000, maximum 1,25,000. So people are very honest. Every day they can deposit 200 to 300 rupees per day, and their income is at least 600 to 800 rupees per day. So by which they can get employment, they can survive, and they can get their roti, kapda and makan. Somewhere this type of small people, now one of the idea, actually because of state and central government, the subject is in concurrent list as far as our constitution is concerned. My idea was electric bike or biofuel bike, we can give permission for two-wheeler taxi. The price of the bike is less than 3 lakhs rupees. So for one person, there will be a meter, helmet and everything will be there, and one person taking from house to station, just like Ola and Uber, we can launch the system. At least is create jobs for at least 50 to 60 lakhs people in the country. To create employment potential is very important. And the problem is that those people who are socially, economically, educationally backward, there is no facilities available for microfinance. And that is exactly the need of the hour. The most important thing in this, particularly in my ministry, to get finance for the poor people is very difficult. हम लोग मजाक में कहते हैं कि पैसे वाले को ही पैसा मिलता है. टैलेंट कितना भी हो, स्किल कितना भी हो, हुनर कितना भी हो, तो कोई उसकी कीमत नहीं होती, कोई पैसा नहीं मिलता. और इसलिए यूनुस साहब जो कह रहे हैं कि बिल्कुल सही, और मैं अभी थोड़ा सा इसका अध्ययन मैंने किया. जो सब्जियां बेचते हैं, छोटे छोटे लोग हैं, पुअर पीपल, दे आर गुड पे मास्टर. Their honesty and integrity, I don't want to compare with anybody, but is very good. But they have talent, but no one is ready to finance them. So in agriculture, rural and tribal, where our 65% population is there, our growth rate, GDP, and our per capita income is very negligible. So 115 aspirant districts are now, which are specially identified by the instruction of the Prime Minister, and where we need to do more work in health services, education and economy. There are some strength, there are some technology where we can launch them and we can train them, and they can get the finance of 1 lakh rupees or 2 lakh rupees. They can start and they can resolve their own problem. if they get employment in their village, what is the need for them to go to Mumbai or Calcutta? When the people are migrating from the rural India to urban India, it is not because with their wish, it is because of compulsion, because they don't have employment, and the poverty is a big problem. And for eradication of poverty, the most important thing is for the small people who have some talent, who have courage, who have entrepreneurship, we should finance them, we should support them. And this finance is not big. And I am talking about 10 lakhs rupees, but even it is 2 lakhs, 3 lakh rupees going to resolve the problem. And at least we can eradicate the poverty of crores of people by this simple methodology. And that is the reason that today we have problem with the financial institutions. Our NBFCs are very good. Our banking system is good, but the banking system to get a loan to a small person, it's a very difficult task. Government is talking about it. We are making lot of programs for that. But the banks officers and our target we have completed. That is only the thing they are telling. We need some political will and social consciousness, social responsibility, and somewhere sensitiveness for the poor people, that is equally important. But the business line, when they are giving lot of loan to big loans and they are getting profits, so no one is interested to support the small people. And here I like the concept of this social business microfinance corporation. We have got cooperative movement in Maharashtra and Gujarat is very good. I am also from cooperative movement. So in my own city, in my own constituency, we have a cooperative store. And now we have turnover of 60 crores per year. And that store is taking material from the poor ladies, self-help groups, and they are selling it. They are getting jobs. So these people are talented. They have got skill. We need to support them for development of their skill also. Then the market they can find out, but we can support them for that. And for a small finance of 1 lakh, 2 lakh rupees can give them a new vision, and they can survive and they can resolve their own problem. Now we are already making some schemes for supporting ferry wala, pani puri wala, the small people. And exactly our agriculture, rural, tribal, particularly the forest area and 115 district, where a lot of raw materials are available. I am giving an example because in Bangladesh also the same problem is there. Particularly the turnover of our fishing is 1 lakh crore, fishing industry. Now we have 7,500 kilometers of seafront. And before that I was Minister for Shipping, Ports and Inland Waterways. So our institute in Cochin, they invented one trawler that cost 1 crore 25 lakhs. And that trawler can go up to 100 nautical miles. And the boats which are available with the fishermen, they are only going up to 7 to 8 nautical miles. By only giving this trawler where the ice factory and everything is there with new technology, they can go up to 100 nautical miles. And we have manufactured 100 trawler and giving to the fishermen in Tamil Nadu, their productivity is increased by 6 times. So today we have 7,500 kilometers of seafront. We can go up to 100 nautical miles. And by giving trawler, we give the idea to our ministry, our fishing ministry and agriculture ministry. And I will support them. So I say, MSME, I will also support you. The 5 fishermen will come together with 5 lakhs rupees. They have equity of 25 lakhs and we will finance them 1 crore. And that will increase their productivity by 6 times. So again there will be processing, packaging and export will be there. So we can easily make this fishing economy from 1 lakh crore to 6 lakh crores. Then honey. We are now increase our budget 10 times more on honey. The high altitude honey, particularly in Uttarakhand, Himachal and Kashmir, that honey is available with a cost of 6,000 rupees per kg on Amazon site. So bamboo, you know the thing that we can make lot of things from bamboo. So particular rural, tribal and agriculture, food processing industry, now I request you, and it is to be like I will request our Honorable Gopal Krishnan ji, that this is the time that we need to find out the appropriate technology for agriculture, rural and tribal India. We can convert biomass into bio-CNG that can be import substitute, cost effective, pollution free. We can make marine fuel, we can make aviation fuel now in agriculture and rural area. We have successfully done all these experiments. There is import substitute, cost effective, pollution free, by which we can create employment potential. So somewhere I feel that this is the time for the country that we need to think in two directions. One is urban and one is rural, agriculture and tribal. We need to make two types of policies. And what exactly Mr. Yunus ji is recognized and respect for his great contribution, that giving loan, giving availability of capital to the small people who are socially, economically backward. Actually, our socio-economic thinking of Antyodaya and Gandhiji's thinking of Sarvodaya is one and the same thing. The people who are socially, economically, educationally backward, they don't have any capacity. If only we can give them 1 lakh rupees, they can survive, their family can survive, and they can also, the process of development will accelerate. And 100% I am confident they are very honest, their integrity is undoubtful. So somewhere it is really a good thing, and I was from last many days I was thinking that how we can support the small people, the poor people, social, economically, educationally backward people, those who have skill, those who have talent, but they don't have capital. How can we can support them? I like this social business microfinance corporation idea. Adharaniya Yunus ji, we have a problem with our administrative system. If we register it in a government way, then there is an inspection and audit and everything, it is create a problem. So we need to make a model where 10 people comes together and they will contribute 1 crore rupees or 2 crore rupees, and that will be treated as there will be a sign or there will be agreement that either they will get the money back or not. There will be no financial vested interest, just give it as a donation. They will form a social business microfinance organization supporting for e-rickshaw, mechanized driven e-rickshaw, for fruits and vegetable vendor, for pani puri vendor, for small people if they can get, and we can make the law that they can take interest up to the bank interest. People are ready, they are paying. Our credit cooperative societies are doing excellent jobs. In Kolhapur district in Maharashtra, they have a deposit more than 80,000 crore credit cooperative societies. So this is already a success story. But this is the time for the country like Bangladesh, India. We are in a process of development. If we need to increase the per capita income, GDP, and the growth, agriculture growth, rural growth, it is the time that we need to have a facility which can support capital wise to the small people. That is very important. That is the heart of the subject. I was constantly thinking on that line that how it can be possible. But you are absolutely correct, and I am of the same opinion what you are telling to me. I will try my level best to implement this thing. And actually there are a lot of new ideas, new innovations, new successful technology. There are people, even a Silai machine, if you can give to one ladies group, they can train and they can do lot of things. Now they are making masks, they are making this, now the plastic is banned, they are making thailis. Thousands of ladies are doing it. The self-help group are doing excellent thing in India also. It is a good example also in Bangladesh with your initiative. So exactly we need to frame an independent policy, because when there is a mixing, I am doubtful, then it is very difficult to implement. Separate policy for the small, poor people, socially, economically, educationally backward, those who have skilled, talented people, but they don't have capital. With small capital, they can start and survive, by which we need to make some schemes. I am really thankful for you. I am working on that line, and I am confident that this is going to solve the problem of economic inequality. This is going to create more purchasing power to the country for accelerate the economy. Because when anything going to these poor people, if the purchasing power is increased, it is going to accelerate the economy. So exactly on that line, we can think of different ideas, different innovation. The two things are very important: the innovation, entrepreneurship, science, technology, research, skilled and successful practices. We name it as a knowledge, and conversion of knowledge into wealth and conversion of waste into wealth. These are very two subjects we are touching to my heart. In my own city, we are selling toilet water in municipal corporation, and we are getting 325 crore from government of Maharashtra as a royalty. So no one is waste. It is depending upon the technology, innovation, vision and research of entrepreneur that even we can convert waste into wealth. So the talent is available, the skill is available, but financial support is equally important. Even I am confident that they can find out the solution for their markets. So this is the time, if you can have such a organization which have social consciousness, social responsibility, social awareness and social commitment for the poor, if the people, those who are ready to work for that, on the basis of that, and some economic model we need which can be controlled by the people, those who are doing it, and there will be no interference, very, very less interference from the administration. Otherwise, the system will create a lot of complication for them. Sir, exactly that is the model how we can make it, where we need your advice. I am 100% of the opinion what you are telling to me. These are people are very honest, their integrity is good, and we need to support them. But how to develop this model? Your experience is very good. You are well recognized and respect for that. And I personally feel that this model should not have any control from government side. We should make in a way by which the people who are the trustees of the society, who have social commitment, they can come and they can do it. This will resolve the problem for crores of people. This will make the dream of all the people where we want to eradicate the poverty. This is going to create employment potential in the country. This is going to create purchasing power. Is going to increase by these small people. 100% is going to helpful for the economy. I am with the same thing. We are doing lot of things. But the most important thing is the last man of the society who is socially, economically, educationally backward. We need to centralize our economy by considering that man, and only then we can go ahead. Exactly, this is the most important philosophy, which is our thinking, socio-economic thinking. On that line, we are trying to think on it. We are very much inspired by you, and what you are giving your message is very important. Only the confusion of making of this organization in government system, because there are some good people, there are some bad people. So because of bad people, we don't allow good people to work. That is the problem of the system. So on that line, 100% I am thinking on that, but with your experience, you also give us the good suggestions. We will work on it and we will try to implement the things. And I am 100% confident this is going to accelerate the Indian economy. We need to think of rural India, agriculture, tribal, and particularly socially, economically, educationally backward people, 115 aspirant districts. If we need to more work there, and if we need successfully, it is going to resolve the problem of metro cities like Calcutta, Mumbai, Delhi or Dhaka. Because if the people, they will get their survival successfully there, what is the need for them to come to Calcutta? So exactly, this is important for economic equality and social equality. This is exactly important for the country, and we will definitely take your advice and your services for that. It's really a pleasure for me that to interact with you. I will invite you in India anytime. It's a great pleasure for me. From my ministry also, we will invite you. Your contribution is very, very good. Historical, your contribution for the poor people. And some of the small microfinance, NBFCs, Bandhan Bank and other, some of the people are working on that line. They have got a very, very excellent track record. But we need to develop more things. And 100% we will work on the philosophy which you are telling to us. And I am 100% supporting your thought process. And we will inspired already by it, and we are working on that line. But somewhere we need to find out a transparent, time-bound, result-oriented and corruption-free system where my personal experience that we need very, very less interference from the government. Otherwise, then it can create a lot of complication. So on that line, we need to find out that model. 100% we will work on that line, and I will try my level best to make that model also. And once again, I am giving my thanks to you. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you very much. Can I just make one point before?
Please.
Yeah, I'm 100% on the same page with you. You said everything that I felt and I tried to explain. Just one thing that about the corporation. I didn't suggest any corporation. I didn't want the government to get involved with it. I was suggesting a license, banking license, saying social business, microfinance, banking license. That's all. The MFI, microfinance institutions are there. They don't have the license. But if you just allow them to have the license to take deposit, a very limited kind of banking license, and that will trigger everything. And people will come forward. Government doesn't have to pay a penny to them. They will collect the deposit and they will lend the money. This is their task. And they will not take any dividend out of it. This is social business, microfinance, banking license. That's it.
Ask you a question. How we are going to make the constitution of this particular institution? How we can get the capital? How we can give the shares? And how they can give it? What type of exactly idea you want to suggest us?
People are already doing that without the license. I was explaining, they are known as a class, they are MFIs, microfinance institutions, the word they use in the banking sector. They already do that, and there's large organizations. But all the money they have to borrow from bank, and this becomes very expensive for them. And bank again make controls on them. So why don't you free them from the banks? They're already in the business. Simply allow them to take the local deposit, rural deposits to remain in the rural areas. Today, what the banking system does, collect the rural deposit and bring it to the urban areas to spend it. Why? Why should the rural savings should go into the urban areas? Why don't we build up the rural economy with the rural money? They have the plenty of money. But now urban banking system go and take this money and bring it to the urban area and give it to the big businesses rather than helping the guy who has to migrate the village to find a job 1,000 miles away. This is because the institution don't have that. Because the institution is designed for a different purpose. That's what I'm arguing, that we have to have dedicated institution for the rural areas. Then you build up the whole rural economy. You do not leave the rural area with the urban institutions, bank, insurance, and everything that you have. It's all urban institutions. Even the education. Education should be in the rural areas too. There's no reason why education has to be located in the urban city, in the big buildings and so on, cramped areas. Plenty of room in the rural areas to enjoy the rural area and clean air. Students will live there and learn what the reality of the country is all about, not the urban area.
By this banking license, whether they will authorize to accept the deposits?
Yes, so that's all you need, just to authorize them to even fix it that up to this amount, whatever is, you cannot use this deposit to lend money to the rich people. You can only use it to lend money to the poor people that you're defining the license. And it should be social business. Nobody should take any dividend out of this business. And see how many people come forward. And many people will come forward. And the whole will change. The government doesn't have to do anything except the policy. It's a policy decision, nothing else.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
I know both of you are running behind time, and I won't take questions if that's all right with you. But I think this has been one of the most inspiring sessions I've attended.
If you want to take questions at 5 minutes, no problem, we can take it. Okay, sir.
No problem, 5 minutes?
No problem. You can take 10 minutes. 10 minutes, no problem. Go ahead.
Okay. You know, this has been one of the most fantastic. I will ask one question while the organizers will feed me questions from the audience. The question I have is, I find this session very inspiring because there is no difference of opinion between the experience of Professor Yunus and the thoughts of Mr. Gadkari. And the fact that Gandhiji and Deen Dayal ji have talked about this, it's decades old, it's not new. I'm wondering what kind of a body can help to give some shape to this policy. Dr. Yunus says, make a policy which allows oxygen to go in a separate oxygen cylinder to the rural areas, right?
Right.
And don't get it mixed up with the government. And you're saying the same thing. Would it be a good idea for Niti Aayog to work with PAN IIT to prepare such a draft policy under your guidance, Gadkari ji? Or is it a bad idea?
My suggestion is you can work on it. Even my ministry can prepare a proposal.
Sure.
We need to take the approval from the finance ministry. I will put up this idea taking from my ministry and taking it to finance ministry and prime minister also. Then
That'd be
for
wonderful.
controlling authority, my suggestion is in place of anybody, the class 1 charter accountant, he will be in charge for other thing. We can authorize them about how much deposit they can take. After that, completing this limit, again we can give them
They have to apply.
credit rating. On the basis of credit rating, we can increase their limit. Then again, that charter accountant will be the controlling authority. And final authority for a small thing, on computerized basis, there will be a software we will develop on the basis that everything will be controlled. On that line, my suggestion, this is my suggestion.
Absolutely.
I don't
Fine.
advise you that accept my all suggestions, but you start brainstorm discussion on this subject with Niti Aayog and you prepare the proposal and give it to me. I will take it this proposal to cabinet for the approval from Prime Minister and from Finance Ministry, and we try to do it. What he says is exactly in that line. I am keenly interested to go on that line.
Thank you so much.
I
Wonderful.
find some audience questions coming. I think I know the answer, but in all fairness, I need to present it to you and Professor Yunus. It says, can we amend the Companies Act to allow this license? And what I've heard you say is to prepare 2 different oxygen cylinders. Don't get mixed up with Companies Act and so on.
आपको बताता हूँ, जितना सरकार का हस्तक्षेप होगा वो स्कीम खराब हो जाएगी. हम एक ऐसा सिस्टम तैयार करो कि हम एक वेबसाइट पर रिजर्व बैंक में 5 सर्टिफिकेट लेकर एक बैंक में डिपॉजिट करके सीए का एक सर्टिफिकेट आपका क्लास 1 जो होगा उसको हमारा ऑडिटर या कुछ मानेंगे, वो हमारे को कंट्रोल करेगा, उसके अप्रूवल और रिजर्व बैंक को भेजे, वो हमको 10 दिन में एक परमिशन दे दे. हमारा कंप्यूटर वाइज रिकॉर्ड उनको जाता रहेगा और ये चार्टर अकाउंट जो है प्राइवेट ये देखता रहेगा. बाकी कोई गवर्नमेंट अधिकारी आए नहीं, कोई तपासनी नहीं, कुछ नहीं. फिर उनका 1 साल के रिकॉर्ड में जब वो अच्छा करेंगे तो उनका रेटिंग वो सीए देगा. जिनका रेटिंग अच्छा होगा उनको और कैपिटल खड़ा करने की मदद मिलेगी और इस प्रकार से जो अच्छा काम करेंगे वो बढ़ते जाएंगे, जो नहीं करेंगे वो ख़त्म होगा या वही रहेंगे. इस टाइप का वैल्यूएशन यानी परफॉर्मेंस ऑडिट बेस्ड सिस्टम को बनाओ. ये ज़्यादा ऑफिसर, ज़्यादा साहब, इसकी परमिशन, उसकी इसी में आदमी थक जाता है. ये रेड टैपिज्म में उसको नहीं फंसाना चाहिए. नहीं कोई एक्ट सुधारना, ना कुछ नहीं करना.
और एक सवाल आ रहा है गडकरी जी कि ये क्या मुमकिन है कि एक मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ रूरल प्रॉस्पेरिटी, फॉर लैक ऑफ अ बेटर वर्ड, which can combine all these things so that there's some nodal point. Can it be a part of your department? Can it be away from all the bureaucracy?
थोड़ा आप नाराज मत होइए, मैं साफ बोलता हूँ. आप फल खाने की बात रखो, आप गुठली गिनने का काम मत करो. ये सिस्टम में मत घुसो. इट नॉट बी अप्रोप्रिएट फॉर मी टू क्रिटिसाइज द सिस्टम बिकॉज एज ए मिनिस्टर मुझे बोलना नहीं है, पर आप समझो इसको बाहर रखो. ये देखो, सोशल कॉन्शियसनेस, सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, सोशल अवेयरनेस. एक आदमी है वो खुद अपने इससे तैयार है करने के लिए, वो 10 लोगों से पैसा लाएगा और ये करेगा. सो एक जैसे चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट काम करते हैं, अच्छा करते जाएंगे तो बाहर से डिपॉजिट मिलेगा, वो उनका पैसा वापस करते जाएंगे और जो ना अच्छा नहीं करेंगे तो वो सिस्टम से वापस चले जाएंगे. पहले हम उनको 1 करोड़ का बिजनेस करने की अनुमति देंगे, वो अगर ठीक होगा तो फिर 2 करोड़ की देंगे, जो सिस्टम बनाएंगे. तो आप ये कंपनी एक्ट और ये डिपार्टमेंट और वो डिपार्टमेंट चलती नहीं सर गाड़ी. जितने लोगों को आप बीच में डालोगे फिर आगे नहीं जा पाओगे, 2 साल पॉलिसी नहीं बनेगी. मेरे को पता है वो, आई नो इट बिकॉज आई एम कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर. मुझे पता है किसका अप्रूवल लेना. एक छोटा प्रपोजल मुझे बना दो, मैं नीति आयोग और आप मिलकर मैं उसको लेकर फाइनेंस मिनिस्ट्री और पीएमओ का क्लियरेंस कर दूंगा और एक दिन डिक्लेयर कर दूंगा मेरे वेबसाइट पर, एक पोर्टल पर कि ये स्कीमें अप्लाई करो, ये दे दो, आपका रजिस्ट्रेशन हो गया, काम शुरू कर दो. आपका सीए ये रहेगा, उसका नाम भेज दो. वो सीए बराबर क्या क्या करना उसका ड्यूटीज हमने कर देंगे, वही उनको कंट्रोल करेगा. वो कोई सरकारी नौकर नहीं होगा और इसमें पूरा उसका रिकॉर्ड जो आएगा वो हमारे यहाँ चेक होते जाएगा. हर महीने में वो अपना रिपोर्ट भेजेगा. तो ऐसा कोई सिस्टम बनाओगे जिसमें गवर्नमेंट का मिनिमम इंटरफियरेंस होगा. अदरवाइज ज़्यादा करोगे तो ये डिपार्टमेंट वो डिपार्टमेंट सब मुश्किल होगा, ये हो नहीं पाएगा. मेक इट शॉर्ट, ट्रांसपेरेंट, हाँ ट्रांसपेरेंट, टाइम बाउंड, रिजल्ट ओरिएंटेड, करप्शन फ्री और बिल्कुल परफॉर्मेंस ऑडिट जिसमें हो. देखो, फाइनेंशियल ऑडिट इज इम्पॉर्टेंट बट एट द सेम टाइम माई फीलिंग इज परफॉर्मेंस ऑडिट इज मोर इम्पॉर्टेंट दैन फाइनेंशियल ऑडिट. सो द इन्वेस्ट में आप अच्छी स्कीम बनाओ और उसको टेक्नोलॉजी का उपयोग करो. आई बेस करो प्लेटफॉर्म तैयार, ताकि कोई बैंक नहीं, कोई फर्नीचर नहीं, कोई एयर कंडीशन नहीं, सब आईटी बेस का सिस्टम तैयार करके कैसा कर सकते. आप नीति आयोग के साथ करो, मैं आपको अलाउ करूंगा. आई एम रेडी टू सपोर्ट यू.
Thank you.
That's fantastic. You know, many of these seminars end up with no particular action. But I have now confirmation from the Pan IIT office that they are prepared to work with anybody, Niti Aayog, but they will anchor it with Mr. Gadkari.
Rajiv Kumar ji, you immediately give him proposal and also write in proposal that already minister has given approval for this. Go ahead. Rajiv Kumar ji is my good friend, Vice President of Niti Aayog. Amitabh Kant is also good friend. They are very capable and good people. They are thinking on the same line where I am thinking. I feel that with your and their combination can give a good result. Give me a proposal. I will immediately take it to Prime Minister and Finance Minister. We will get it clear and one platform we can launch and we will start the things.
Very good. This is like Gandhi Ji's Dandi March. Pehle 2 kadam uthao, fir aage kadam aayenge. Well, thank you very much,
Thank you.
Gadkari ji and
Thank you very much.
Yunus
Thanks
ji.
a lot. Thank you. Thank you.
খুব
It's
ভালো হলো,
wonderful.
আপনি
Wonderful.
অনেকগুলো
খুব ভালো।
করেছেন সেমিনার, কিন্তু
খুব
এখানে
সুন্দর।
কিছু করা উচিত আমার।
খুবই ভালো লাগলো। It's very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Namaskar.